And welcome to another stream here on DreamBank social channels. My name is Andy Frisky. I am a senior dream curator with DreamBank. Really excited to introduce the featured speaker today, a veteran speaker of ours. But before I go ahead and do that, I'd like to welcome everyone who is taking the time out of their day to tune in. If this is your first event, again, welcome, and would love to give a little bit of context as to who we are and why we are here. So DreamBank is a free community resource that is located in Madison, Wisconsin. We're put on by American Family Insurance. The whole reason why we exist is to help inspire people to pursue their dreams. And in large part, we do that through the programs that we offer. So we have 9 distinct event series, anything ranging from this event, which falls into our career category. We also have a business-related event series. We have family-related activities, a crafting series, learning lab, which is kind of a how-to or a 101. Events in Spanish. So really we try and appeal to as many different dreamers as possible. If you're curious about our upcoming events, go ahead and press that events tab if you're doing this on our Facebook page. That'll give you a good insight as to what we have in the next month or two. One event I really wanted to highlight in particular is our Dream Summit, our 3rd annual Dream Summit, which actually kicks off tomorrow. So the Dream Summit is 2 days of motivational keynotes and inspirational workshops where guests are able to virtually meet like-minded attendees and speakers to explore your dreams and discover and how you might be able to achieve them. We have a very, very star-studded lineup this year. We're very, very pleased with folks such as Tan France, Glennon Doyle, Drew and Jonathan Scott, Natalie Nixon, just to name a few. So I will go ahead and put a link for that in the chat if you are interested in registering and learning a little bit more about that. But I would love to go ahead and turn over to our featured speaker today, DP Knudten. So DP has worked on some of the biggest brands in the business, including Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Great Wolf Resorts, Closet Made, and Georgia Pacific at agencies such as DDB Needham in Chicago, McCann Erickson in Atlanta. He's a writer by trade and enjoys playing in the intersection between the visual and verbal, using his nonfiction branding approach to move people and product. DP is also the author of Nonfiction Brand, Discover, Craft, and Communicate the Completely True and Completely You brand you already are, and co-author of the best-selling Rotoma, the ROI of Social Media Top of Mind. He's the host and creator of 2 popular podcasts, the Rotoma Podcast and the Nonfiction Brand Podcast. He's also a keynote speaker and clinician in areas of branding, social media, creativity, and culture for groups throughout the United States. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to DP. DP, take it away.
Thanks very much, Andy, and thank you to American Family Insurance for hosting DreamBank, which is one of my absolute favorite places to go for new ideas, new connections, meeting people, and really getting out there and forcing myself to think outside of the proverbial box. So I hope that's what you've come to this event for, because I want to kind of challenge you with this idea that who you are today is not necessarily who you should be tomorrow in terms of the way you think about yourself. And I'm going to go right to the slides and pop in occasionally picture in picture. But for now, I just want to introduce the topic, which is called FUTUREPROOF, building a personal brand that protects your career for a lifetime. And when I mean a lifetime, I truly do mean a lifetime. And I want to start out with, frankly, the bad news. Your X years are coming. Now, what are your X years? Well, you reach the point in your career where you're very experienced. You've developed a great level of expertise. You're probably pretty expensive and therefore expendable. And I speak from personal knowledge here because it's happened to me a couple of times. As you can see, as I show my face, I got a little bit more gray on my face, on my chin than I do in my hair, but let's just say I'm north of 50 years old. And so my career is definitely in a later act within my play, if you will. And consequently, here's the thing that happened to me. I was very good at what I did, and nobody knew it. I mean, the people I worked directly with in advertising agencies knew that I was capable and competent and all that stuff. But the greater at large community was completely unaware of who I was, what I do, and how I do it. And that's a shame on me thing, but it's only a shame on me thing as long as I do nothing about it. And so what I'm here today is to talk about the things that you can do to make sure what happened to me doesn't happen to you as you come into that time in your life where you're reaching your X years. And by the way, your X years used to be starting way, way back in your life. Now it's happening earlier and earlier and earlier as new challenges like artificial intelligence and the changing stack of technology is forcing people that may have been incredibly experienced in one computer language or development platform or framework, and all of a sudden they picked the wrong horse. Well, if you're just that person, you're making a huge mistake, because it's not about the language you speak or the technology horse you ride. It's about who you are as a person. And I want to prove that to you this way. Here's the thing about what I just said regarding the X years. There's an absolute fact. If you don't own it, it's not yours. So if you're working for a firm that has someone else's name on it, you don't own it, and it's not yours. If you're not an equity partner, you don't own it, and it's not yours. I could go down the list forever, but here's the truth too. Your personal brand is 100% yours forever. Now, what does that mean? What is personal branding? Well, I want to go all the way back to this dude. This is Tom Peters, who I consider just a brilliant thought leader in the business space, in the management space, in the leadership space. And he wrote this article in Fast Company magazine in August of 1997. It was the cover story, and it's called "The Brand Called You. You Can't Move Up If You Don't Stand Out." And in this seminal article that is cited not only by me, but countless others in marketing and the personal branding space, he recognized and wrote about something that is incredibly important. And that is that personal branding is the practice of people marketing themselves and their careers as brands. While previous self-help management techniques were about self-improvement, the personal branding concept suggests instead that success comes from self-packaging. Now, this is an old Wikipedia definition that has undoubtedly changed over the years, but I love that idea that is really summed up this entire article, which, by the way, you can still read on the Fast Company website, and I urge you to go there and read it because it's really very thought-provoking. And as I say, it came out in August of 1997. All you have to do is go to fastcompany.com and do a search for "The Brand Called You." You're going to find the article because it's still there and you can still read it many years later. That's how powerful this article is. That's how powerful this idea of personal branding is. The thing I loved about that definition was the phrase self-packaging. Now, I've worked in what's called consumer packaged goods marketing for a long, long time in a lot of different places. And the way you market a packaged good is that you define the public idea of what that packaged good is, and you don't necessarily get into the nitty-gritty of the ingredients of it. For example, if I said Wheaties, the breakfast cereal, what's in Wheaties? I guess wheat. I don't know, but I know it's the breakfast of champions, right? They always have an athlete on the box cover or the box packaging. And so I always associate it with performance, with health, with all these things, with all these ideas and concepts. Why do I think that? Because I've been marketed to forever with their brand. Their brand is consistently telling the same stories over and over and over in a packaged way. So that's the key idea of personal branding. And you can sum it up too by taking a look at these two bags and saying, which is worth more? Now, depending on your point of view, if you think the white bag is from the Apple store, you might think that's a whole lot more valuable than the Robin's Egg Blue of Tiffany and Company. But for the most of the world, if you were walking down Fifth Avenue in New York and you saw someone with that bag walking toward you, you'd be thinking, oh, someone's either in really big trouble or getting a really great gift. And why is that? Because that single color right there is the packaging of Tiffany and Company, the very elite jewelry company. It's a luxury brand, and that color tells you everything you need to know about what may or may not be inside that bag. That is packaging right there. Packaging of ideas and concepts that make the brand valuable to a whole lot of people around the world. So why do you need to personal brand yourself? Well, here's why. In a world of translucent gummy bears, some of us choose to be the red gummy bear because we don't want to be just another gummy bear. And so that is absolutely why you need to personally brand yourself. No matter what you are, you could be a realtor, you could be a doctor, you could be a used car salesman, doesn't matter. You need to brand yourself because otherwise you're just one of many instead of one of one. And that's really the goal, to become one of one and to become the red gummy bear in this specific situation. Now, how do you do that? Well, I got this thing called nonfiction branding that I espouse, that I evangelize, that I want to share with everybody for a reason. And I want to introduce that reason to you by telling you a very true story. But first, ask the question, what is the conceptual foundation upon which every blog, post, video, podcast is built? It has to be built on something, right? What's the foundation for it? Well, your nonfiction brand should be that foundation. And again, the true story I want to tell you is about when I took the trip from Chicago down to Atlanta to work at an agency on a certain product that you are probably aware of, that began its life in 1886 in Atlanta, Georgia, and is now one of the top brands globally, recognizable in every country around the world. Can you guess what that is? You'll figure it out in just a second. I was working at McCann Erickson on this specific thing, and I got a creative brief. Now, for those of you who don't know what a creative brief is, it's typically a document of minimum 3 pages up to 500 pages, depending on how much research is involved, that is provided to the creative team to actually create the marketing communication. I was a writer, so I would get this thing and I would immediately bypass the first 2 pages and look at the very last page where there was a section called copy points. And these copy points are the data points that need to be part of the communication, such as, this is a 4th of July sweepstakes, 1 entry per purchase, supplies are limited, it goes from this day to this day. These are all the facts that I have to work with in the communication. Now, my job was to make this communicate in a way that's interesting and exciting, but I still need the facts. It's just the facts, ma'am. I just need the facts before I can start writing. So when I got this creative brief that said, write some stuff, I was like, what does that mean? Is it a 2-for-1 sale? Is it a new flavor of the soft drink? Is it, what am I supposed to be talking about, dude? And I walk into the account manager's office with a little bit of attitude. I was feeling a little salty, to be honest. And I said, what the is this, mister? I don't write fiction. And what I meant was, now I can write fiction that nobody wants to read. I guarantee you I could write a thriller that you absolutely would not want to pick up and read. But when it comes to advertising and marketing, I tell the truth. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not okay with kind of spinning the best possible truth for anything, but I'm not going to outright lie about a product. I need to know what the facts are. So just write some stuff. That's fiction. What do you want me to write about? That's what I was asking for. But I walked out of that office and I kept thinking about that. I am not a fiction writer. Why did I say that? Well, I guess I'm a nonfiction writer. What does that mean? And then I started equating it with branding, the whole idea of creating a brand that is not fictional. And I think we can all point to brands that surround us that you can absolutely say are fictional. You know, the ones that come up with a great backstory, but the second you buy it, you go, nope, this is not industrial grade. They present themselves as absolutely rock solid tough, and it fell apart the first time I used it. That's an overpromise and an underdelivery. The worst thing a brand can do is overpromise and underdeliver. But if a brand right promises and right delivers, if there's an absolute, or better even yet, is right promise and over deliver, that's when you build a relationship. And that's what a brand is all about. So when I said I don't write fiction, I meant it. And then I started thinking about that for the next 15 years. That results in this thing that just came out January 1st of 2021. Nonfiction brand, discover, craft, and communicate the completely true, completely you brand you already are. It's available on Amazon, and I'm only showing you this to underline the point that I've been thinking about this a long time, and that a lot of the stuff I'm talking about today can be found in this book if you're interested. So we all know the difference between commodity and premium, right? Commodities are bought for the lowest possible price. And a commodity is a basic good used in commerce that is interchangeable with other goods of the same type. The quality of a given commodity may differ slightly, but it is essentially uniform across producers. All right, so common commodities are corn, right? Coffee, orange juice, and in a lot of cases, you. If you are just a realtor, just a lawyer, just a doctor, just a whatever, fill in the blank, you are a commodity that is easily replaced by somebody else, unless you're a brand. And that's the goal of this whole conversation today, to convince you not only that you should consider personally branding yourself, but also give you some tools so that you can. So as I said, commodities are bought for the lowest possible price, right? Well, brands are purchased at a premium. Now, you don't have to talk to me very long before you start noticing that I've got an Apple Watch, and then I've got Apple MacBook Pro, and I've got an iPhone, I don't know, iPhone 11 Pro Max or whatever. And in my household currently, I think we have somewhere just under 10 different no, if you count the Apple TVs, I bet you we're over 10. I'm a huge Apple fan for a lot of different reasons, and I'm not here to talk about that other than the fact that I'm an Apple fan because of the quality proposition that I buy into, and they rarely fail me on. And that is, it just works. And it's really stylish, and it's very intuitive. The last time I cracked a manual to work on an Apple product was, I couldn't tell you, because I don't have to, because I can figure it out, because they build things to be intuitive. I love that. And again, I'm not some simpleton when it comes to technology. My first computer had twin floppy drives and didn't have a hard drive. When I personally installed that 20 megabyte Seagate hard drive in my computer, I then had to go into the config.sys file to reconfigure the configuration. Yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm old enough where I've got more time, more money than time, and I don't want to spend that time working on config.sys files. Now, your mileage may vary on that, so I'm okay with that. But when it comes to me and the value proposition that Apple offers, I'm Apple all day long. Now, that's not true for everybody, right? In fact, the real reason I look to Apple is because they do such a fantastic job of branding. And I want to remind you again, why should you think about personally branding? Well, it's because sales is about transaction. What will it take you to get you in this car today? It's a one and done. Maybe you come back for a second transaction later, but frankly, I don't care. This is all about making the sale. Well, branding is about relationship. And this is key, because a good brand relationship like the one I have with Apple doesn't just sell me one iPod, 15 years ago, but sells me hundreds of products and services over time. And I get to the point where I don't even look at the price. I know it's from them. I know the quality is good. I'm happy to buy it and give them a premium price for that. And every successful brand, especially these days, is a personal brand. And let me give you an example of what personal branding truly is about. The goal of it is to differentiate. Why? We all know why. We all want to become that red gummy bear, right? So we have to differentiate ourselves from our peers. And let me give you this quick exercise that will also reveal to you, if you haven't figured it out, the brand I worked on in Atlanta, Georgia, that actually set me off on this whole journey of personal branding and small business branding. Let's start with a quadrant chart here. On one axis, we've got authenticity and syntheticity, if that's a word. We've got trendy on one side and then timeless on the other. And we have two brands that you'll both that undoubtedly you'll recognize, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Now, if you ask me, I'm going to put Coca-Cola up in the authentic and timeless quadrant, and I'm going to put Pepsi down in the trendy synthetic quadrant. Why? Because Coke is the real thing, always has been since 1886. It's the same classic thing. Even their logo is the same Spencerian script logo, plus or minus 10% for digital reasons over the years. They have not changed their logo. Meanwhile, Pepsi is all about being trendy and synthetic. And by synthetic, I mean that they will constantly try to associate themselves with the latest, coolest pop culture figures. They're the taste of a new generation. They're constantly trying to reinvent themselves or morph themselves to fit whatever the society is doing in pop culture primarily. So here you've got different positions, and they're very, very strong positions. The interesting thing is Coca-Cola, 1886, it started going nationwide. Pepsi started going nationwide in 1887, 1 year later. Coca-Cola, still bigger than Pepsi because they have first mover status, but also because they constantly pay attention to what their brand is. Now, I like pointing to this idea because these are two distinct positions for sweet brown water. Oh, and you could add bubbly in there if you want. Seriously, is there that big a difference between Coca-Cola and Pepsi? Now, I don't think so, but I've also been in restaurants with family members and friends that when the server comes around and takes drink orders and someone orders a Pepsi and the person says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we only have Coca-Cola products," the person oftentimes will say, "Oh, that's okay, I'll just have water." Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever said that yourself? Well, if so, then you are a brand aficionado that cannot see past the subtle differences between the two. I'm not saying there aren't differences. Pepsi is sweeter. Coke's a little bit more acidic with a bit of a bite, but it goes way beyond those, what I would call cosmetic differences. If you're a Coke person, you're a Coke person. If you're a Pepsi person, you're a Pepsi person. One of the reasons I'm a Coke person is because my dad was a Pepsi person, and I was reflexively contrarian to anything my father ever did. I'm not going to go into those years of therapy. Instead, I'm going to keep moving on and talk to you while your mileage may vary about where you would put those brands on that quadrant grid. Nonfiction branding is about minimizing that variance in order to maximize market understanding of who you are, what you do, and how you do it. Coca-Cola, who they are, what they do, and how they do it is very clear, so clear that people distinctly know the difference between Pepsi and Coke, much less other cola brands. And that's global too. So if the number one goal of personal branding is differentiation, what's the number one technique of personal branding? Demonstration. You can't tell, you got to show. So let's talk about this for a second. A lot of people might say, well, branding is the same thing as reputation, right? I don't necessarily agree. And here's why. Reputation is not the equivalent of branding because reputation is something they hold about you. And a personal brand, however, is something you own, you share, and you demonstrate. Remember when I said, if you don't own it, it's not yours? Your personal brand is 100% yours. This is the thing, this is the story, this is the narrative, this is the platform, the foundation where that you approach the market with every single day. So that if somebody is trying out to soil your reputation out there, the people who know, respect, love, and trust you say, yeah, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't sound like the person I know. I think you've got an agenda, and I know my experience is different. So I'm going to stick with the personal brand I know. See the difference there? Reputation, other people own about you, but your personal brand is the story that you continually show, not just tell, but show about yourself. And we'll get into more of that later. Personal branding is great for anybody who's in a barrel with some shady practitioners, let's say. Personal branding can really help you inoculate yourself from what I call the broad brush syndrome. Now, what is that? The cold hard truth right here. This is a fairly recent 2018 list of respected or not respected professions. Nurses at the top, members of Congress at the bottom, and lawyers are right there at 28%. Consider lawyers to be very low trusted professionals. That's not good. Why is that? Why does that happen? Because of stuff like this. Yeah, this is an actual mobile ad that was running around the streets of Chicago in the financial district, trying to get people to, I don't know, destroy their family. Yeah, nice. If you're a lawyer, does that represent you and what you do and how you do it? Well, it does if you're not a brand, because as a lawyer, as a doctor, as a teacher, as anything, you are only as good as the worst person in your profession. Witness the fact that everybody complains about teachers, but they love their kid's teacher, with some exceptions, right? It's always the category you hate, even if you love the individuals. So the goal of personal branding is get you out of the category altogether so that you can be loved, beloved, recommended to others because they know exactly who you are, what you do, and how you do it. I want to give you a great example of what I consider solid personal and professional nonfiction branding. And guess what? She's a lawyer. Williams Family Law, a dedicated adoption law firm. Big word, single word, right there. Adopt. Complete your family through adoption. I'm experienced and dedicated to you. This is the website for Williams Family Law. And if you page down the website, you'll see this. Lisa Williams McCallum. That's her with her family. And she says, with a sunny smile, hello. Adoption creates a new legal relationship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Williams Family Law Practice is a law firm dedicated to adoption, and I look forward to joining you on your adoption journey. Wow. That photo of a lawyer is a whole lot different than this photo of an actual law firm. Now, their identities are masked because these guys are undoubtedly litigious, and I don't want to be sued for pointing out that they have all the creativity of, oh, look, they have different colored ties, but their suits are pretty much the same. Huh. Who would you rather have as your lawyer? I suppose it depends, but most of the time, I'm going with Lisa and hoping I don't have to deal with these guys. Take a look at the photography that's on our website. It is all very family, very inclusive, very joyous, colorful, exciting, etc. Not the typical photography you'd expect to see on a law firm's website. Why is this photography style chosen for a website like this? Because Lisa is differentiating herself from all the dry, stodgy, button-down law firms out there and making it very clear that this is an emotional journey you're going to be on together. Therefore, you're going to seek out the emotional guide who can obviously, and through demonstration, she's already demonstrated, she understands just how fraught and emotional that journey can be. She has successfully inoculated herself from the divorce firm that I showed you at the beginning and turned her into someone who becomes a personal champion because she has demonstrated her personal brand. She has packaged herself. Now, I don't know anything more about her than we've just seen, but I already like her. And here's the thing about good personal branding. With a website like this, you've met Lisa long before you meet her. And that's one of the key benefits of personal branding. And that's what personal branding actually does. It precedes you into every single room, which means dun, 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 there are no more cold rooms. Now, does everyone know what a cold room is? It's when you go to a meetup, a networking event, a connecting event within your sector. Maybe it's a conference, maybe it's a big meeting of some sort. You don't know anybody there. You walk in the room and you can almost feel sub-zero temperature because you don't know anybody. You're looking around, hoping to make eye contact, and everyone looks at you and immediately looks away because they don't want to have to talk to someone they don't know and all that stuff. That is a cold room. Personal branding, when you've done it right, long enough, you walk in that room, you scan the room, all of a sudden someone's going to make eye contact with you, have a benign smile on their face or an active one, or even better yet, go DP and come running over to you because they know you. They know who you are, what you do, and how you do it because you have demonstrated who you are, what you do, and how you do it over and over again. Has this happened to me? Why, yes, it has happened to me. In fact, because I have the Nonfiction Brand podcast, which is now on episode 163, just started the 4th year of weekly episodes of the Nonfiction Brand podcast. I was once at one of these cold room meetings talking with someone at the back of the room, and a woman about 15 feet away who was facing away from me heard my voice, turned around, had a huge smile on her face, and said, DP. And I had that momentary lapse or that momentary feeling of, do I know you? And I asked her, I'm sorry, I can't remember. Have we ever met before? And she said, no. You wouldn't know me, but I know you. I listen to your podcast. You sound exactly the same. Boom. Demonstrate your personal brand, who you are, what you do, and how you do it. And via podcast, what you sound like. That has made that potentially cold room into a very warm room where I made a new connection, a new friend. Basically, no more cold rooms. That's what a personal brand can do for you. Personal branding also performs a critical function, that handle. Now, let me ask you a quick question. How many of you work directly with a brand? It's a trick question. It's a rhetorical question. In your head, you hopefully said, well, I'm a brand, right? That's what he wants me to say. And the answer is, yeah, that's what I want you to say. But really, this is what I mean by personal branding and the fact that you need to do it. I want to introduce you to the brand called you. This is you, the brand. And this is everything that makes up you, all the things you love, all the things you're passionate about, your hobbies, your avocations, your family, your background, your history, where you went to school, all this stuff. All these things make up you. But the fact is, you're a mess unless you're a brand. And you'll notice one thing on this brand, that this suitcase that holds everything about you. It's incredibly difficult. Have you ever tried to lift a suitcase that has a broken handle? You know, you're trying to do this as you walk down a hallway and stuff like that. Well, it's very, very awkward if you don't have a handle. And that's what I like to call, every suitcase needs a handle, but I like to call them brandles. Is it too much to call them brandles? In fact, that's such a big idea. I'm slapping a TM on it because to have a brandle means that you have a brand handle that allows people who know, like, and trust you to pick you up and walk you down the hallway and be handed off to someone else. Not all the stuff that's in the suitcase, that comes later. But the first conversation is, oh, you were talking about a guy. You need someone who's creative, who's really fun, but listens really well and collaborates in a wonderful way. You got to meet this guy. Why did they use those words? Creative, collaborative, stuff like that. It's because your brand was telling them that those are words, and we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, so moving forward, every brand suitcase, every personal brand suitcase too, needs a brandle. And I want to share with you the story about a brandle in action. and the whole idea of knowing and showing your completely true, completely you story. Meet Teresa. She is ostensibly one of these, a realtor who brands themselves by putting themselves on a bus bench that you drive by and don't pay any attention to. Well, she understood that she didn't want to be that. She wanted to be more than that. She wanted to create not just a successful career for herself, but she wanted to be completely true in who she was and the way she did stuff. So we started working together. And during the conversations, because again, our conversations go wide to discover more, and I listen deeply, I asked her the question, so Teresa, how did you begin your career post, college or whatever? She said, well, I started out as a journeyman union carpenter. And I went, whoop, you kidding me? I don't know that many union carpenters. I don't know any female journeyman union carpenters. That's pretty unusual, especially for a realtor. And then she went on to say, well, she did that. And then she started flipping homes and she got into real estate. And then she got passionate about architecturally significant homes that could be purchased for pennies because they're in such bad shape. But she loved renovating them back to their like mid-century modern glory. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's back up a little bit, because you just gave me your brand and you don't even know it yet. She said a couple of keywords in that description of herself. Hold on a sec. She said carpenter, designer, project manager, and I added the word matchmaker because that's what I realized her BRANDLE was. She is a matchmaker for people who want architecturally significant homes they can afford, even if they have to fix them up. And she is the matchmaker also for the home that deserves to have a homeowners who appreciate it for what it is aesthetically, historically, and everything else. Her goal was to become recognized as the person to go to if you want a mid-century Rambler style home that looks like Don Draper just set down his martini on the counter and everything was all 1959 to 65 gorgeous. You should talk to Teresa. That's how you become not a realtor, but a personal brand. So Teresa is a carpenter, designer, project manager, and matchmaker. How do we get there? We did a process. I call it the brand nature process to find out her true brand nature, everything about her. And these are a lot of features that you'd find in any branding process. So I don't want to dwell on this other than to say that these are the words that describe not only her, but the way she works, who she is, and how she does it, so that people can understand how she is in fact different. When you do understand how Teresa is different, do you consider her a commodity? No, you do not. You consider her a matchmaker, which makes her something far more valuable than your garden variety real estate agent. And by the way, matchmaker, that's her BRANDLE, because that enables her to explain, what do you mean by matchmaker? Well, and then she goes into the story. And this truly is the essence of nonfiction branding. Know who you are so you can be it. Now, on my sarcastic days, which is pretty much every day, I like to say that you could go to the self-help section of any Barnes & Noble or any other bookstore, go to the self-help section, distill all the assembled wisdom out of all those books, and it'll go right back to that very basic saying. If you know who you are and you are being who you are, you will be more self-actualized, more fulfilled, more satisfied with your life. Why? Because you're not fronting. You're not faking it till you make it. You're being it and continually being it. You're just being. That's the wonderful thing about nonfiction branding. I'm not asking you to do anything that you aren't already being. You just maybe haven't paid enough attention to it to get yourself out of whatever barrel you're stuck in as a commodity. Fill in your business title now. Get out of that barrel. How? Build your personal brand. So that's Teresa. By the way, I just wanted to talk about this photo. Does that look like a bus bench photo, or does that look like someone you'd love to have coffee with at a local coffee shop as you find out about what are the best school districts in the area, what new home builders are the ones you should trust, what's the skinny on property taxes, and what's happening with infrastructure in this area? This is your best friend, and she knows all that stuff. Why? Because she doesn't sell homes. She makes relationships. She matches you to your home. She doesn't sell houses. She match makes you to the home that you deserve. Another personal brand in action. NASCAR is a great place for branding because everything is branded times 50. Every one of those cars has stickers for brands all over it. Well, this car is no exception. Take a look. If you did a count of the number of brand stickers on this car, it'd probably be upwards of 100. But I'm not paying attention to that. I'm paying attention to the big M&Ms. M&Ms, that's interesting. And then this guy, Kyle Busch, the driver for M&Ms. And you can see he's covered with logos all over the place. But that's not the point. The point is he wasn't always the M&M guy. And if you look at this and say, which is more important, the car or the driver? Think about that for a minute, because consider this. Before he was M&Ms, he was Skittles. Before he was Skittles, he was Interstate Batteries. Before he was Interstate Batteries, he was Doublemint. And before that, he was Pedigree dog food. Yes, he's packaged himself in all sorts of different brand livery. But the reality is that he is the most valuable brand associated with that car and that team because he's a personal brand. Why? Kyle Busch is future-proof. It doesn't matter what M&M's does. Doesn't matter what any of those teams do. Kyle Busch is future-proof because Kyle's fans love Kyle's brand. Have you ever heard of this guy? Do you know, like, and trust Bob Burg? Well, if you listen to any of the podcasts I do, you've heard countless people say, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Know, like, and trust. Know, like, and trust. I heard it so often. I'm a big one for giving credit where credit is deserved. I wanted to know who it was, so I looked it up. It's Bob Burg. Well, who's Bob Burg? Bob Burg is this guy. He wrote a book called The Go-Giver, and he's got a podcast too called The Go-Giver Podcast. And his big idea, I've already told you, people engage with people they know, like, and trust. Simple as that. So how can they learn to know, like, and trust you? This is the part where I stop talking about theory and start giving you some practice. So be prepared to take some screenshots and take notes during this section if you're serious about wanting to start your personal branding activity today. Okay? So stand by. Again, get ready for news. Step one step. Recognize that logo? You should. It's the only social media platform that didn't go down yesterday other than Twitter. LinkedIn is still up, still running. And today there's a fair amount of shade going to Facebook and Instagram for them going down, but LinkedIn kept going without a problem. I went to Social Media Marketing World a number of years ago, and I saw Guy Kawasaki speak. He was an early evangelist for Apple computers back when Steve Jobs was still alive, and now he works for Mercedes-Benz and Adobe Technologies, you name it, everybody as a key influencer. And I saw him speak, and he said, the next great social media platform is already here, and it's called LinkedIn. He said that because a lot of people said, hey, Guy, you know what's happening around the bend. What's the next great social media platform? His point was, it's already here. It's already been here. And you may not be using it the way you should be, because LinkedIn is now the one social media platform where everybody you engage with is basically exactly who they say they are. Now, there may be some fraudsters in there, but it's really hard for someone to fake a face and fake a pedigree and fake everything about themselves. You either work for a company or you don't. That's easy to find out. Hey, does Joe Smith work for your company? No, he doesn't. That's funny that his profile on LinkedIn does. Boom. Fraudsters, boom, instantly dead. LinkedIn is a place, especially for people who want to do business. and create business relationships. Not necessarily immediate transaction, but build brand relationships, personal branding relationships as well. So here, once you get started, you're going to see this. And you see that up in the corner where it says All-Star? How do you get that All-Star rating? It's not hard. In fact, you only have to do a certain number of things to get you there. Things like add a profile picture, because that members with photos get 21x more profile views. Add a photo. Okay. These are the 7 steps to an all-star LinkedIn profile. Take a screenshot of this and do it today, because the second you get that LinkedIn all-star status, you're going to be able to get more relationships faster, because people will start to know who you are, what you do, and how you do it. So again, upload a quality photo, add a descriptive profile headline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the last one, link to at least 50 LinkedIn users. That might seem hard. That is not hard. All you have to do is think about everybody in your company. Can you ask them, hey, can I link to you? Ask every prospect that you have in your sales funnel, if you have such a thing. Ask if you can link to them there. You get that 50 number really fast, and you get that all-star status really fast as well. Moving on. The ABCs of social media are pretty simple. Now, if you saw the movie Gary Glenn Ross, you know that the ABCs of selling is all ABC, always be closing. Well, the ABCCs of content media, or of social media too, is always be creating content. And, frankly, that's daunting for a lot of people. Not everybody's going to have a camera set up and a microphone set up and be able to do live video or do a podcast or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, that shouldn't stop you from creating valuable content. And here's how you can. Make every comment a conversation. What does that mean? Well, you've heard of content marketing, where you have to create podcasts and videos and all that stuff and be on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram all the time and all that crap. Well, not everybody has a lot of time for that, but you certainly can comment on other people's content. And I call that comment marketing, because there's a strategy involved here that's actually pretty powerful. It goes a little something like this. Social media is that snowball that never melts until you stop. So the goal here is to never stop. Well, how do you do that if you don't have time to go into an edit suite to cut audio or video? Well, you can keep that snowball rolling by learning to love the like plus. Now, everyone knows what this guy is, right? That's the thumbs up like, which is the equivalent of nothing. Thanks for nothing, Mr. Thumbs Up. But the like plus is something much more powerful. It works like this. Where a normal post or like would say something like, great post, thanks for sharing. Wah, wah. Nothing there, no nutrition. A like plus does something much more powerful, which is, you are so right, at poster's name. Have you heard of #Trello? It's a great free productivity tool I use to stay on track. Love its file card style. And then I include the link to Trello. So let's just say that someone was posting about a productivity software. Does anyone have any recommendations? Or here's a comparison, whatever. If I just comment, great post, thanks for sharing, that gets me nothing. And frankly, doesn't do a whole lot for the poster as well. But if I do the rest, that B, you are so right, at poster's name. Why do you include their at tag? Because they will be notified that you posted on their post, that you commented on their post. Do you think they aren't going to check out to see what you said? Of course they are. Have you heard of #Trello? Well, guess who follows #Trello? The guys at Trello do. And so do a lot of professionals in the project management space, just to see what's going on with that specific productivity tool. It's a great tool, blah, blah, blah. I'm adding on my experience. I explain how I use it just a little bit. And then I include the Trello link at the bottom. Trello's going to love that. The poster is going to love that. And the algorithm at LinkedIn, which determines how wide and far a post gets shared, they're going to love it as well, because they see activity is happening. And therefore, the algorithm says, oh, this is popular, share it more widely. What poster is not going to like the fact that their post got more widely shared and they recognize that you're the one who helped them out? Thank you very much. That is the like plus right there. But there's also the like plus plus. Now, a number of years ago, we had some big flooding in the Madison, Wisconsin area, and there were tons of news reports of people with pulling old sofas out of their basement because they were destroyed by flooded basements, and Facebook was nothing but our basement got flooded. I've lost all my memories, all that stuff. And inevitably, some people would post, I have the same problem. Well, great. That does nothing for me. Thanks a lot. I'm sorry it happened to you. It happened to me. But what if instead of saying I have the same problem, you said, so sorry to hear that at poster's name. Why at poster's name? So that they are notified that you posted a comment on their post so they can respond back to you in a conversation. I know someone who can help you with this. I'm helping you out. Do you know at referral? Now, the referral would be the name of someone. Let's say it's a plumber or somebody like that. She's fantastic at this kind of thing. Would you like an introduction? What have I done there? I've identified the person. I've recognized them. I've come up with not only echoing what they said, but I'm coming to them with a solution. And then I'm asking, would you like an introduction? Meaning I'm not just sharing the person's name or contact information. I'm asking you to engage in a conversation with me. It's not just a, here's a number. It's a, let's talk, and I want to help you. In a situation like that, who owes me a favor? The poster and the referral person. And I'm not doing it because they owe me a favor. They just will recognize that, oh, what a solid person. What a nice person for helping me out, for helping me extend my business or helping me solve my problem. All of a sudden, you apparently have no transaction you could possibly get out of it. But by simply providing that connection, you're providing value. How valuable are you then to that person? Pretty darn valuable, if you ask me. So here's the recipe for the like plus. It's appreciation. Appreciate their problem or thank them for posting. Include the recognition of their @ tag names that they're notified of that you posted on their comment. Add to the conversation and then leave with a task or a takeaway so that they can respond back to you in a conversation. In other words, A, appreciation, R, recognition, A, addition, T, task or takeaway. And I'd be a crappy copywriter if I didn't give you this mnemonic device. Always make sure there's a rat in your comment. A, appreciation, R, recognition, A, addition, T, task or takeaway. You do that. Oh, and by the way, I will give you a link to get this downloadable spread or this worksheet. Stay tuned till the end of this presentation, and I'll give you that and more. Okay, time's winding down, so I'm going to go through these pretty darn fast. But you know this guy, right? Personal brand, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Hayden Planetarium Director of Astronomy. Meanwhile, the astronomy professor over there, who's got his back to his students, he's a commodity. One's a personal brand, one's a commodity. Neil deGrasse Tyson, of course. I love the fact that he used deGrasse. His middle name, I don't know, but it just makes him so distinct. He's demonstrating distinction, even in the name he chooses to go by professionally. Well, I saw this video on YouTube. You can look it up. It's called The Anatomy of a Soundbite. And he said this at the American Museum of Natural History in August of 2013. When he was first asked to be on the Today Show or the morning shows about something that happened in astronomy, like, oh, there's a new asteroid that's been discovered. Could it be heading toward Earth? They have to get an astronomer on to do a soundbite for stuff. First time he went on a 15-minute discussion about, well, the trajectory of the asteroid, blah, blah, blah. And then when he watched what they put together, they took out a quote like, it's really big. And that's all they took. And he went, I just wasted a ton of time talking about something that doesn't matter. So he, smart guy that he is, deconstructed what makes a good soundbite. And this is what it is. What are the 3 sentences that I can put together that are informative, make you smile, and are so tasty you might want to tell someone else? That's Neil's definition of a soundbite, but I think it sounds like an awful lot like my perfect definition of a key 3. Now, what's a key 3? Well, it's what you should start with, because remember that overloaded suitcase? Pick 3 things out of it that are the most important, not only to you, but to your audience's understanding of who you are, what you do, and how you do it. And these are the 3 things you should be presenting. So this is how it works. The key 3 are the 3 foundational concepts that concisely and consistently define and communicate your personal brand. We have a brand called the United States of America, summed up in 2 words and 1 phrase: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I would posit sincerely that everything that's good about this nation is summed up in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And when we're at our best, everyone around the world knows that. Key 3 for the United States of America: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now let's go back to my favorite bubbly brown water, which is Coca-Cola. I used to work on this and have my butt handed to me if what I wrote did not communicate authenticity, refreshment, and sociability. Now, I could go on for hours about what those things mean, but just be clear that they would beat me up if I did not continually tell those 3 core stories and truths about Coca-Cola. Why? Because those 3 truths are the only thing that make them different than Pepsi. True. That is true. Now, the other thing is that every brand needs a defined key 3, including this dude. And I hinted at this earlier. My key 3 are collaborative. I work with people. I'm creative. I always work on the creative side of the fence. You will not get a spreadsheet from me. You'll get really great, interesting, fun ideas. And then the 3rd word is provocative. Now, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, believe it or not. I don't exactly understand why, but let's just say for some, I serve the tea too hot. And so I'm not going to water down my tea. I'm not going to cool it down. I'm going to constantly provoke you to think, to challenge yourself, to move forward. Because why would you come to me as a creative collaborator, my other 2 words, if I didn't provoke you to do better than you could do yourself? If you just wanted a burger made to your perfection, go to people who make hamburgers. If you go to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant and order a burger, you're not getting a choice. You might get to talk about meat temperature, medium rare, whatever, but he'll make it his way and you'll love it. Why? Because Gordon Ramsay, personal brand. He's not a chef. He's Gordon Ramsay. Make sense? All right, so I want to help you get this thing going by enabling you to do your homework. And with these 3 worksheets, all you have to do is go to nonfictionbrand.com/gift, and you will be at a place where you can download these PDFs absolutely free of charge. You don't even have to sign my email list because, frankly, when it comes to channel or funnel marketing, I'm really bad at it. And I choose to do things old school. I like face-to-face. I like Zoom to Zoom. I like email to email. But if you did want to join my email list, that helps me know that you're interested in receiving potentially other worksheets and valuable stuff like this. So please consider that. And once again, I'm going to throw it up on the screen. Go to nonfictionbrand.com/gift for those free downloadable PDFs. I've got the Nonfiction Brand podcast, comes out every single Monday. Episode 163 came out yesterday. I think you'll find it interesting, especially if you're interested in creating a personal brand. This book is available both as hard copy and Kindle download from the old Amazon. So check it out if you're so inclined. And this is how you get a hold of me. So screenshot this if you're interested in conversing or whatever. I would love to talk to you and help you get started on your personal brand. Well, that's it for me, DP Knudten. So thank you so much for watching this. I'm hoping that Andy is still on the horn and able to take any questions. And if you have any questions, please type them in the chat, StreamYard's chat, and we should be able to have a conversation there. So, Andy.
Hey, DP, thank you so much. Love the term Brandle, as did a lot of other people here. But yeah, we did have a question or two that popped in. First one is, how do I find this recording later? So wherever you're watching it right now, whatever link you're using, it's going to be the same one. So if you're on our Facebook page, just go ahead and keep that tab open. Once this stream is done, you'll be able to watch this in its entirety. There was another question that came in early on. So I think it's this was pretty much the beginning of the presentation from I think Natalia. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So how do you start or look critically at what you're sharing now as your brand to determine if you're going in the right direction? If that makes sense, DP.
Yeah, it does. And let me go back up. Hold on a second. Let me get back to the keynote and just back up to here. You'll see, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Yeah, you can. You can see this document right here. It asks 5 questions that are key to starting your nonfiction brand foundation. They aren't hard, but they're meant to provoke you, literally provoke you into thinking deeper about who you are, what you do, and how you do it. Also, the things you won't do, because oftentimes the things that you don't do define you better than the things you do. An example for me, I won't do advertising for tobacco products. I think the reasons are obvious, but I just won't do that. That defines me a little bit, right? So be sure to go do that as well. The other things you can do are those 2 techniques there. We talked about the like plus technique. So download that worksheet because it spells out everything I said. But the one I didn't talk about was the unselfish selfies worksheet, which is incredibly effective. With the caveat, you have to be in person to do it. But let's just say, let's knock on wood and hope COVID goes away fairly soon and we can get back together. But there's no better way to build your personal brand than by making other people look good. Because here's the thing: when you shine a spotlight on someone else, some of that light reflects back on you in a very positive way. Making other people look great makes you look good. Or vice versa. Making them look good makes you look great. I'm not sure which I like better. Which do you like better? Hopefully you get exactly what I'm talking about.
Thank you so much for that, DP. It looks like those are all the questions that came in. Lots of praise from many of our viewers today, though, which I very much agree. Took some good tidbits from that, and love how you're able to break down and use some really relevant examples. Really paints a good image. Thank you all for tuning in today. We'll go ahead and cap it there, and we will see you all next time.